Hey, welcome back, everybody. Another Rams Up Roundtable. It's finally here, counting down to opening day. I know you're excited, Paul.
Oh man, I could not even focus at work today. We were all about fantasy draft and the Rams Lions.
Same with you, Ian.
Man, it's crazy. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Got a couple more days after that. I mean, you know what happened with me, gentlemen, and maybe anyone listening in agrees with this. I think just seeing some college football just starts getting the September, all right, here we are, kind of juices flowing of football's back. We're seeing big college games. The USC LSU game had some NFL kind of
Awesome.
flavor to it.
Yeah.
Again, not a high scoring game. It wasn't like a triple overtime 60 to 50 something, but good throws, good defense. I think that really kicked off my NFL hunger, Rams hunger, seeing an LA team.
Yeah. That I having football, college football Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That was pretty sweet. It was good stuff, and it was great to see USC. Looks like they are maybe going to be pretty relevant this year.
So they're back. The Trojans are back.
Yeah, put the SEC in their place.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. I knew that was coming.
So yeah, from me especially, right? I can't really root for the Pac-2 anymore, but I always root for USC and UCLA.
Yeah. Gotta love them both.
So this week, this will be our last chance to talk about the Rams-Lions game. So we're going to discuss that at length here. Yeah. Before we do that, let's get through a couple of news items, and we gotta talk about our friends up north, man. The Ricky Pearsall incident. Pretty sad to see. Great to see that he's okay. It's going to be all right. But you know what? To be honest with you, I haven't even read the stories. I just read the headlines, a couple little blurbs. But man, pretty scary incident for a rookie.
I mean, there's a lot of craziness going on with the 49ers too, man. They finally got the contract stuff figured out. I mean, good for them, I guess. Maybe not as good for us. That going on, a lot of players hurt, and then you got this on top of it. Oh, and gosh, I guess fate of the universe for Ricky Pearsall, man. Bullet through the chest, exit out the back. Missed every important organ possible in the chest. I mean, whoa, baby, man. What a lucky guy. And, we joke about the 49er hate on here, but it's good to see another human, not get his life taken in just a senseless robbery over some watch. Ridiculous. So good that he's okay. And hope to see you on the field against us soon, Ricky Pearsall, because I know the Rams kind of wanted you.
Yeah, he's going to be out. He's going to be back like in 3 weeks. Is that what I heard?
I think they put him on the PUP list like Higbee, so I think 4 weeks, like a short-term IR. So I mean, he'll miss the game against us round 1 here in LA. So
yeah, someone was joking about he's going to have a hard time dealing with a teammate that's out 8 weeks with turf toe. Dude, I was shot in the chest,
right?
And here I come back.
It's like Michael Thomas from the Saints. Dude had a toe injury for years and missed forever. And yeah, Ricky could be like, you can play the 50 Cent Many Men song and just be like, I'm back.
Yeah. Best of luck to him. I think it's great to hear that he's okay. Never want to see that happen to anybody. But let's see what else we got. So, I'm trying to make heads or tails out of this hiring. What do you got, Paul? What does this mean, Scott Frost being hired by the Rams?
Well, if it was a flood of memories for me. I'm a lot older than Ian, so I don't know if Ian remembers 1997.
He was good. He was a good option quarterback.
Dude was a beast. Yeah, he was a beast. That whole team, and I texted you guys. That was the team that had Grant Winston and Amon Green. And that was 97. Ram Nation was that last year. Osborne. The Osborne era officially came to an end. I think he retired after that season, if memory serves me correctly. But I mean, as a player, it was always great to watch. He didn't have a lot of success in Nebraska as a coach. He had that great year, that anomaly year at Central Florida, right? Where where technically that they are in the record books for that officially, right? Which I think is really that BYU and Central Florida. Those two are in the history book, which is really interesting. But I think there was a lot of excitement in the media about this hiring, what he's going to bring to the table in terms of, as officially as an analyst, senior analyst, nonetheless. So I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm curious to see later on in the season. Hopefully, more information comes out of how he is being utilized, his contributions. Um, but like I said, it's goes along with the whole McVay sort of mindset, bringing different perspective. There has to be something that they found enticing, because his record at Nebraska was not good at all. I think he was like 0-15 in like big games.
Yeah. Let's just be real about it. Nebraska, obviously they have a great history of running offenses that won championships and all that stuff. And, the modern day of football, got to throw the ball. That really wasn't a thing. I know they have that Patrick Mahomes clone going on right now. So I know that's probably the first quarterback, other than shout out to them. I think, was it Taylor Martinez? He was a pretty dynamic thrower and runner. I liked him. Shout out to Martinez. That's my last name. Has reminded me. But they haven't had a lot of that going on. And that coupled with just the state, it's hard to get a lot of guys. It's hard to convince a lot of coastal cities, right? The Floridas, the California, the Texas, where there's a lot of, talent, big states. It's hard to get those guys to not want to go to a Nick Saban-led school or Georgia or any, you know what I'm saying? To get them, hey, come play Big Ten football at Nebraska back then. But, hey, shout out to him joining us, right, gentlemen? Special teams has been an issue. Again, for everyone who doesn't remember, last season, with the new era of advanced analytics since the last 20 plus years or so, the Rams were bottom 5 in the last 20 plus years in, special teams efficiency, tackling, kicking, punt coverage, punt return, kick return, all that meshed together. Rams are one of the worst teams ever in all special teams in the last 20-something years. Terrible. So he's going to help fix the special teams, hopefully, or improve it. And I assume he'll eventually probably get hired on full time, because obviously Sean McVay did not like what he saw from Chili Davis, who they fired, who now Scott Frost is going to replace. So obviously it wasn't working out with Chili. Best of luck to him. Sorry that had to be the case before the season kicked off. But whatever Sean's got to do to get this unit to not be dreadful, I'm all for it. Shout out to the 13-0 record of UCF. Like we just said, Nebraska was tough, but Sean believes in him. He believes in his football mind. And, what do you think, Mark? I feel good about it. Whatever to help that terrible unit last year to get better. Jesus.
Now, see, I was unaware. Now, you're thinking the focus is going to be special teams. Did you read that, hear that?
That's one of his assignments.
Okay.
His primary assignment.
I missed that because my first thought would be, go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off. So I think he said primarily special teams, but he will dabble in helping offense and defense.
In other arenas.
Yeah. When I think my guess would have been as a quality assurance, maybe, watching the offense, see if they're tipping stuff off, if they have trends that they're unaware of, that type of thing. I know all these teams do that.
Yeah, that's the intriguing aspect of Scott Frost, because remember, when he came to the NFL, he played safety. So he has, familiarity. And if you look at his coaching resume, he's coached both defense and offense. So I think that's an interesting perspective to him, which sort of might go under the radar, that he does have this reference point, offense, defense, and special teams. So, that might be very, very useful for the Rams. So, every time it's an opportunity, welcome to the Ramley, and hopefully Scott Frost will, contribute positively.
Well, that's why I have you guys on, because you guys actually know what's going on, and I find out what's going on in the middle of this show, so that's good. So yeah, you can never have too many smart minds on your sideline, that's for sure. So let's get into, before we talk about the Rams-Lions game, let's talk about the one development that we're probably most concerned about. Last I heard, Big Rob was getting some work in. McVay feeling a little bit more positive.
Yeah.
They're experimenting with Jonah Jackson at center. Is it going to be Noteboom and McClendon? We still have a lot of unknowns about our offensive line. What's the latest word, Ian? Do you know any news up there?
Nothing new than whatever Coach McVay said, that Rob is making progress. He said last week that it was going to be a 50-50 coin flip, basically. And, any sign of a player that is needed, a starting level player that is practicing to some degree, great news. It was reported that he took place in individual drills. They held him at a team drills, 11-on-11 stuff, which is fine. But if you're already in that, hey, I'm suited up and I'm participating in the blocking mechanics with my fellow linemen, right? Doing bag blocking drills, all that fun stuff. If you're there and you're on the ankle and you're putting mass pressure, right? You need that weight to be able to, that leg weight, ankle weight to be able to hold up when you're making blocks. So if he's doing stuff like that, the ankle is in a much, much better place. And gentlemen, I'll be kind of shocked if he doesn't play, truthfully, because if he's practicing, then that means he's going to play. And does Rob Havenstein need 11 on 11 drills throughout, tomorrow, today, leading up to the game? Probably not. He's part of the St. Louis crew, one of the last guys a part of that St. Louis Rams roster. So does he need to fully practice to be ready to rock for Sunday Night Football? Will we like him to? Yeah, but does he need to? I don't think so. So I think it's good news based on the Rob Havenstein.
Yeah.
I hope he plays because I don't want Aiden Hutchinson kicking our ass on a backup right tackle. That's a very likely scenario if he doesn't play.
Tomorrow's practice, Wednesday, even McVay said Wednesday's practice is going to be the one that's going to be the best indicator, right? So, he practiced today. They want to see how it sort of reacts based now to this initial exposure. They'll put, hopefully everything's positive. He'll go again. So, McVay hinted that Wednesday's practice will tell us a lot. So, listen, if he's there, and I agree, that Hutchinson factor, that's where Big Rob really comes into play. Because whatever side that he's on, we know Nopum can hold it down on one side, theoretically. But to have a backup on the other side is just going to expose Stafford to way, way too many hits.
Well, wait a minute. I thought you were a Warren McClendon fan.
I'm a McClendon fan too, but if you give me a choice between the Havenstein monster and McClendon, I'm going with Big Rob every time.
Yeah. I mean, Hutchinson's an all-pro level player, Mark. I mean, we can. I'm fans of a lot of our guys, but there's not a whole lot of NFL starting tackles that can handle Hutchinson. Let's just be real about that.
Yeah, we were talking. One of my guests on Ram Fan Rap Sessions picked Havenstein as his most underappreciated player.
Sure.
And there is a lot of truth there because he's just good. He's really good. He may not be great. He never gets the All-Pro nods, the Pro Bowl nods, but he just does his job, rolls along year to year.
Yeah.
Very, very reliable, dependable. Is for the most part available. But I still think Colby Parkinson's going to play a big role. Especially if Havenstein can't go, he's going to have to help out a lot.
Yeah, chipping Hutch is going to be crucial. Absolutely crucial.
Kyron, Blake, Davis Allen, the other tight end. Everybody's going to have to just lay the boom on him every chance they get, legally, cleanly, no dirty hits. That's not what I meant, everybody. But yeah, we need you, Big Rob. Please give him whatever he needs on that ankle.
I think maybe I wouldn't mind if Kirby Joseph made a run at Colby Parkinson and see what happens.
Well, Colby cleans his clock.
Well, let's just be honest. That's players on the Rams are pretty clean about the things they say, but let's be honest. They're football players with a mean, nasty attitude. You got to be able to play football for this long, and keep it in between the lines, keep it clean, but don't be shocked if some Kirby Joseph action from our side happens. We start it. It wouldn't be shocking. Keep it clean. Keep it clean. No problem, right?
That's why wherever Kirby lines up, make sure you run the ball on that side.
Yep.
Okay, let's get into the details of this game, man. We could talk about this for a while. So we know that if the Rams win the toss, they'll defer and Cooper Kupp will kick off. Is that what we're hearing?
Well, I know he made that joke or I don't know if it is a joke. I don't know if it's a bad joke or whatever. I know he said that in his podcast with his wife. That's been pretty fun to listen to when I get the chance. So, well, I mean, if there's a Vegas bet for that, I guess keep your eyes out, everybody, wherever you are to win some money and gamble. But I mean, hopefully not, right, gentlemen?
Yeah, his wife had a pretty good chuckle with it. I'm not sure what to make of that, but I don't think about that. Yeah, I think it's pretty doubtful. So what do you want to talk about here? What do you think I know what Paul and Ian are both gonna say are the keys to this game. But I'll let you make a run at it, Paul. What's the number one key? What's the number one thing the Rams have to do to win this football game?
Pretty simple. Time of possession. TOP. right? If they, keep the ball more than half the time, wear that defense out, try to take the crowd out of the game. I would say it's a 1A and a 1B. The other thing which they did not do in the last game, which I do not understand, you got to pressure Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a mistake-prone quarterback. When you get someone in his face, I don't understand what they were doing in that last game. Early on, they got some pressure, and you saw when he almost did like that two-handed shuffle and threw the ball away.
Yeah, dude.
They got to come after him.
Yeah,
they got to come after him. Pick their spots. This defense is still coming together, so it's a little early in the season, but pick their spots, get aggressive, get after him. Shut down the run, or there's a lot of different things we're saying that they have to do. Listen, Detroit's not going to make it easy. But the bottom line is at some point you have to come after Jared Goff. And on the offensive side of it, control the tempo, get to the line quickly, go after that defense. I'm still skeptical of the Detroit secondary. I know they drafted Arnold. I still think, that secondary can be exploited, and they have 3 healthy receivers. King Cup is back, and I'm going to make the call right now. The first touchdown of the season, 17-yarder to K10 or 10K as I call him, 10K in the back of the end zone, 17-yard fade. That's going to be the first touchdown of the season for the Rams.
Cool. So you got time of possession, which I think more or less means running the ball efficiently. I mean, you can control the clock without running, but I think that's where you're going with that. Exploit their secondary, pressure Jared Goff. What do you got, Ian? Anything to add to that?
It's win the trenches. It's really simple with this team. And look at everybody. I know that's very common. Like, hey, you win the line of scrimmage, you're probably going to win the game. And we can say that probably for every game, but it matters with this specific team we're facing Sunday Night Football. They have a fantastic O-line, probably top 5. I'm sure they'll finish in the top 5 going in, ending the season, no matter what their record is. Good O-lineman, Pro Bowl level lineman. They have a very aggressive, strong, and angry front 7, right? Leading by Hutchinson, and then we have Anzalone and some other guys. So can we keep their guys off Stafford, and then can we run the ball clean enough? So it doesn't have to be, I would like to see the big chunks, but can we at least have 3, 4 yards, at least at the minimum, so we can set ourselves up for more manageable third downs, and then eventually maybe Kyron or Blake is able to get free and pop one. Just be efficient on the line, because let's be honest, guys. I said this last roundtable. Stafford got his ass hit a ton in that last playoff game against the Lions, and that was with a fully healthy offensive line in that game. So it's going to be real key to keep Stafford protected, because if he is, look, and I know they added Terrion Arnold through the draft. I think he'll probably end up being a good player. I know they're moving Brian Branch to be the full-time safety, and Kirby Joseph will return. And I know they signed Carlton Davis from the Bucs, who has had some good moments, but let's be honest, when we play the Buccaneers, Cooper Kupp and our receivers have tore up the Buccaneers secondary most years out of, since we've been playing them. And Carlton Davis has been a guy that we've targeted when we played the Bucs when, Brady was there and so forth and so forth. So I have to see the secondary be good before I can say that there's something to worry about. And it's just simple, man. Just control the line of scrimmage. And then defense, same thing. Get after Goff. He's going to cause a turnover if he gets pressured. He's inaccurate when he's pressured. I mean, his time with the Rams, it was that way. His last couple of years with the Lions have been that way. I mean, think about the playoff games. Obviously, our game where he kind of just threw it backward like rugby style, and we should have recovered it, but he panicked and tossed it. Think about the Buccaneers game where he was getting pressured and he was getting inaccurate. Think about the NFC title game where it was a 4th down and he completely missed Josh Reynolds open on a 4th down. It was going to be, a short little 6-yard route, but he got flustered, didn't set his feet, and he just winged it. And then Josh Reynolds had to dive to the right, where if he just would have threw it accurately, be calm, he just would have hit him right in the chest, would have been a 1st down. And the Lions probably win that game based off that drive. So, guys, please, McVay, please, Crisciola, do what you got to do to control the line of scrimmage, and I think we got it. But I will say this about the line of scrimmage on offense. Having Steve Avila and having Jonah Jackson switch spots this late into training, or this late into the offseason, leading up into the season, or it's not the offseason, you know what I mean, preseason. That is concerning, truthfully. I will say that. So I hope that does work out. And there's the rumors of, oh, Jonah Jackson is used to the loud of Detroit, or he's used to loud environments, so he might be better suited at center to be able to hear Matthew or do a silent count or whatever. That might be true, but what I really think it is, and share your thoughts with this gentleman. I think it's Jonah Jackson's health is so wishy-washy that if he gets hurt at guard, instead of having Avila start at center and then having to kick him over, it's better that Steve Avila plays guard and we just run that B. And then if something happens to Jonah, you can just insert Bo Limber, who they've been giving some first-team reps to fill in, seamlessly. Instead of, all right, Avila, I know you haven't practiced guard much, but you're going to have to move over because you're our best guard, and then Bo Limber is now our next best option at center. I think that's the case. Something happens to Jonah at center, no problem. Bo Limber will come in, and it's not the end of the world because Steve has gotten tons of reps back at guard. So I think that's it. It comes down to Jonah's health, is that they're not fully invested that he's going to be healthy a whole year, I think. And they're like, if something happens to you, Bo Limber will come in. I mean, what do you think, gentlemen, about that? I think that's a logical reason.
Yeah, that's what I heard, and that's what I was thinking as well, because Bo Limmer did play really well. Brian Baldinger had a little clip on him on Twitter. It was pretty good. And you're right about it's kind of a bummer that we're so excited about Jared Verse and Braden Fisk and Byron Young and what they can do. And right out of the gate, they got to go against such a great offensive line. So, we may be a little disappointed in their productivity as far as, pressuring Goff. But, we may have to wait a week, but hopefully we can get to him a couple of times, get some hits on him, because, like I said, that can really change the game, especially with a quarterback like Goff. But now, last I heard, Penny Sewell was still questionable. Is he? Any update on him?
One quick thing before you go into Andrea. One other thing I want to add, just to keep in mind with that, because I was thinking the exact same thing. You two hit the nail right on the head about the dominoes falling if there's an injury there. But also another thing, in that duo format, remember the double turns out. I'm familiar with Jonah Jackson, obviously 4 years at Rutgers, right? So I still remember the scouting report, and he did not play in many games at center. I saw the media clips. It was only a handful of games, about 5 or 6 games total in his career. Yeah. But one thing that jumped out at me right away was in the duo format, right? One of the things that is emphasized is that the ability to climb. In the centers, we want them to climb, right? Because that double winds up being you climb to the second level and get that linebacker. If you look at what Jonah Jackson does well, this move to center, I think, if that's really the direction they're going to go, I don't know if they're really going to go in that direction, but if they do decide to go in that direction, there's a hidden bonus here. I think Jonah Jackson is very well suited in this duo format, being that center, because that center responsibility is that they have to climb. And he is one thing that his scouting report and everyone who's watched him, one thing, he's very athletic, he's very mobile. That is the strength of his particular profile. The other thing is, think about it, at center, right? So Ian's playing guard next to me. At center, there's a big difference. There's much less wear and tear at center. You're helping out the guards a lot. Kelsey, on his show, he was cracking me up when they were asking him what's harder to play, which of the O-line positions, and he goes, "Oh, center's the easiest. You just help out the guards," right? Which we know is not necessarily true. I mean, obviously he's just being facetious, but
yeah.
But there is a lot. I mean, I don't know if you agree, Ian, but there's a lot less wear and tear at center when you start talking about guard, and particularly if they want to, obviously they don't play. They do have a duo emphasis, but they still run some zone. So Jonah Jackson's athleticism in the middle has a nice little bonus there as well. So I think if they do go that format, I think really in my mind that was the first thing that jumped out at me, was that. It's going to be really interesting to watch this guy go get downfield, because not that Avila can't get downfield, but Avila is an absolute mauler at guard. And Jackson in the middle, once Jackson gets familiar, and I think he's been around long enough to know like the calls and everything, the slide protections and all that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be an issue. So if they go that way, I think it'll work out much better than people anticipate.
And real quick, Mark, before you join in, I mean, Stafford did say if Jonah was back sooner, they probably would have made the switch when he had returned sooner. So I think this is something that's been brewing up, and I mean, I know there's some part of the Rams nation out there that I've talked to that are like, wow, why did we pay him so much? Well, think of it like this: we're paying one of the highest paid players at center, and if it ends up working out, then who gives a damn, right? We just want the best group of linemen possible, and hopefully it works out. I think it will. And I think your point about the duo and all the power schemes that we do run, the downhill running game, the gap scheme stuff we do, I think it will save him from getting beat up being the center. He doesn't have to pull. He doesn't have to be the primary guy comboing off to a linebacker. He doesn't have to be the main guy on a screen pass running out full force or getting ankles rolled or knees rolled up on. You know what I'm saying? Only Jason Kelce does stuff like that where he's a pulling center on a screen or a trap or whatever. So I think all that together is how it's going to go. And I mean, Mark, are you okay with it? Because I know a lot of Rams Nation is not.
Yeah, I think it might be as simple as what I think you're trying to point out is that your most injury-prone interior offensive lineman is Jonah Jackson, and your best backup interior offensive lineman is Bo Limmer, and Bo Limmer is best at center.
Yeah.
So it's as simple. But back to Penei Sewell, any updates on him? Because he is a real difference maker on the other side, this great offensive line. And they were running down the injuries the other day. And it looked like they were pretty hopeful for Jahmyr Gibbs. There was a couple other guys that were trending positive, but they seemed a little bit more less confident about Sewell's ability to play Sunday night. He'll probably end up playing, though.
Well, they do have him listed on the injury report. They do have him listed on there.
I think the only player who's not, 100% sure is I think they're starting. I think one of their, their dime safeties. I forgot his name. Is it Millie Fonan? I can't even say it. Jesus.
Yeah. He's still on there too.
There you go. I couldn't see it.
There's two of them. Yeah, there's two of them still listed on the injury report, and they were absent from practice.
Yeah, so I think everyone's going to play. Let's be honest.
Here's a question for you X and O guys. I brought this up with the high school football coach I had on the other day. Ben Johnson, one of the best offensive coordinators in the game, top 3 or 4 probably. Is it a dilemma for him going up against a defense that it's kind of an unknown quantity? I mean, you know who the players are, and some of them have a track record, but you don't really know what Chris Shula's up to. Is that an advantage, Shula, there in that scenario?
Go ahead, Paul. Yes, okay, I'll go then. I mean, let's be honest. Shula is running, of his variation of this Fangio-esque 3-4 defense. So he's going to have his tendencies, right, which teams will learn as there's more game film that goes on. Does he like to blitz? Does he like to drop outside linebackers? Does he like whatever? Does he like to stunt a lot? Does he like to run cover 2 a lot, cover 6, right? Those are all unknowns. So there is a slight advantage that, Ben Johnson doesn't know the tendencies of Chris Shula, but the base scheme and the rules and the fundamental philosophy is no different than what he had faced against Raheem Morris last season in the tournament. So a slight advantage because you don't know how Shula is going to roll out and attack them, but the basic rules of this Fangio 3-4 scheme defense are the same. So they can game plan pretty solid, I feel, on their side attacking our defense. But there is that unknown that we do have the advantage of what is Shula going to do to disrupt them. And that's good for week 1, at least, right?
Yeah, I think the second half adjustments will be very, very telling on both sides of the ball for both teams.
Yeah.
All right, this is a week 1 scenario, right, everybody? But, to your question, if you're saying he's one of the best, top 3 OCs in the league, so he's going to be the one dictating this, the rules of engagement as opposed to seeing what the DC is going to do, obviously, and see what the reactions are, then make the second-hand adjustments of where he can take advantage of some of, the question is, what are Shula's tendencies? Nobody knows, right? So, but we definitely see that there's going to be a lot more emphasis, right, on pressure, right, across the board. We can just see that in the format of the Rams in practice, just the way they have constructed the roster, particularly around outside linebacker. So, and a very underrated signing. Gallimore, very underrated signing. We said that they had to bring in a veteran run stopper, right? This is very under the radar signing. I like it a lot. Nice backup to Bobby Brown in the middle, and then, it's going to get tested right off the bat because Detroit's going to try to run the ball. And Vaki's going to be ready too. So my boy Vaki is going to be there. So Rams will be ready. So yeah, I think it's interesting, but I think in this type of chess match, it's really going to come out to those second half adjustments are going to decide this game.
Hey, we got away from the keys to the game, and I had one I wanted to share, and that's we need to finish in the red zone, and that's what really bit us last time, right? I mean, we're probably more hopeful that we have a decent NFL kicker now, but I'm not sold yet. So even more important, we got to close out. We got to close out with some touchdowns. Got to do it.
And Sean McVay's been pretty vocal.
I love the way Mark thinks. That's it. Run the rock, baby.
Yeah, Sean McVay's been pretty vocal, gentlemen, and he's been appearing on different people's shows, and he regrets how he called that game in the red zone. He said it. I regretted the red zone play calls, and he regrets not going for it on fourth down at the end of the game, giving Stafford a chance to probably, instead of punting, and we lost it after that. So, Sean, you invested in the O-line. You doubled down on the running back position. Run the damn ball in the red zone, and good things are going to happen. I think that's just pretty simple as that. So if we do that, we'll probably win the game. And if like I predict, Sean McVay is going to have 2 games at least where he's going to have a bad play calling day or a bad day where he's not attacking a team's weakness enough, and we're going to lose it. It's just guaranteed. This we got 7 years now of this. It's going to happen. So hopefully this Sunday night game is not one of those games, because this is a big game for tiebreakers, for the conference tiebreakers, for playoff possible seedings. And hopefully it is not that type of day for Coach McVay. But I believe that he'll learn from mistakes. Now that we have some analytical guys on the headset during the game to kind of help out with, hey, man, you should run it here, or hey, you should do this based on the flow of the game. So, yeah, Mark, run the damn ball.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, so Paul, which Ram player are you most excited to see this Sunday night game?
The return of 10K. I think dude's still money. And combining him with Puka Nails and we got Optimus 9. Listen, I've been saying it from the get-go. Listen, this offense is good enough to win it all. They just, the Rams have to be able to put together a block of games, solid play, like Ian says, solid play calling, solid game management, get into the proper mindset. I love what I've been hearing. I just watched the other day, episode 4, Behind the Grind. All the young players using that same type of terminology, physicality. Listen, no better way to show it off. The Rams spent a ton of money between K-Dot and Jonah Jackson. And by the way, gentlemen, if Jonah stays at center, we now have the second highest paid center in the league, right? Behind the irony behind our buddy Creed.
I know.
Creed who?
Right?
I know.
KC.
I know. Our friends will never let that go. Tutu's buddy.
Tutu's buddy.
Yeah, as far as Cooper Kupp goes, from a fantasy football angle, I've seen Puka late first round, Cooper Kupp early 4th. I think that's more or less where he was slotted to go. And I see it more of a, if it were me, Puka late 2, Cooper early 3. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but I think it's a mistake to take Puka too early. Everybody's probably already had their drafts because of Cooper Kupp. And Cooper Kupp could be a steal if you're getting him in the 4th round.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Red zone monster.
So who are you most excited to see, Ian, in this opener?
Man, there's a lot of guys. Obviously, look at my background is Puka Nacua scoring a long touchdown on the Lions secondary in the playoff game. I hope we see that again. Obviously, we see how Nacua is now that he's more in shape. That's fun. King Kupp, he's not banged up. He doesn't have a leg wrap on his hamstring. He doesn't have an elbow wrap like he had towards the end of the year. I mean, dude was beat up, so I hope to see him be full force and based on reports, he's good. But the guy I'm most excited for, gentlemen, I want to see our first round pick, Jared Verse, light it up. And I don't need to see him have, 2+ sacks. That'd be great, though. But I don't need to see it. Can you be a difference maker in the run game? Can you power rush to cause Jared Goff to make an inaccurate throw or to freak out and cause a turnover when he gets, flustered? Can you be disciplined in the run game? And, when the Lions want to do an outside zone run with Montgomery or Gibbs, when they want to crash inside and do an inside duo run, can Jared Verse crash down, squeeze the tackle, and blow up the play that way? And then also, I want to see the mental factor play into this. Based on reports, gentlemen, since Ramsey's left, there hasn't been somebody with that dog, people like to say, right? And according to reports, Jared Verse is that type of dude, man. Andrew Whitworth has appeared on some podcasts, and he's been a huge Rams supporter, talking about how this team he thinks is going to be really, really good, and how Braden Fisk and Jared Verse look really good as rookies. And he said that Jared Verse is a you-know-what talker. He's a big crap talker when he makes a big play, and he's nonstop letting the opposing team know that hey, I got you. I got you this play. I beat you. You suck. This, and that. And, we haven't had anybody like that. We're pretty clean-cut guys, right? I mean, Jalen was that type of dude, and I think for him to get that infused in this young defense now that Ernest Jones is gone and that leadership has departed this team, I think that's going to be huge. Can he be the crap talker that backs it up? That's what I want to see. Long story short.
Yeah, and Verse was my pick too, and I think you're kind of alluding to the fact we might not see a big stat line from him in the opener. Yeah. But we can't be disillusioned. Just watch him and watch how he plays, watch what his contributions are. And, him and Braden Fisk, hopefully they are just pissed off about how their Florida State team is doing.
Oh, gee, I know, crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, this just shows you how valuable those two guys were, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a lot of turnover on that squad, of course, quarterback left, and there's a lot of other stuff. But difference makers, and we got them. And to your point about Braden, I'm equally as excited for him. But just because Jared Verse is a crap talker, I'm excited to see if he gets under anybody's skin.
Yeah. The interesting take on this unit is now, obviously, you lost 99 Problems, you lost EJ. That's a lot of leadership. That's a lot of character. Yeah. It's a hard, it's a very difficult void to fill. So I think the Ram defense is definitely going to be a second half unit in this season. They're going to be much better after, I think, probably week 6 than they are week 1 to 6, right? I think Shula's also going to feel out his game plans as we move forward and his tendencies. The interesting thing about young players early on is, can they play as a unit? That's what they have to learn. Yeah, they want to do as the individuals, right? They want to get after it, but understanding that structure within the defensive unit, that's where the discipline comes in. So listen, right off the bat, they're throwing, listen, iron sharpens iron. This is how it's done, right? Got to put them right in the fire. And I love the fact that they are getting in that. But I think, listen, fist factor, bars, listen, let them get after it, find avenues. Can they play together? You got a steadying influence in there with the conductor. Let's see how that rotation rolls out. A good person to keep an eye on also is how they're going to play that safety scenario. I think this week 1 is going to be really telling how, we've been playing around with it, how that deep center field is going to play out. I'm really, really curious about that, because once we figure that out, everything else is just going to sort of fall into place. You're going to see, oh, this makes sense, that makes sense, this makes sense. And I think the Rams pass rush is going to be a lot better than people are giving them credit for. I think they're going to be electric. And after week 6, I think you're going to really see this unit shine.
I mean, gentlemen, joint practice, which I've been pretty vocal, and you guys with me, about how important those reports are. The pass rush has been kicking ass every practice against the opposing starting unit. Cowboys twice, Texans, Chargers. I mean, the pass rush was fantastic throughout all those joint scrimmages. So I expect big things from them. And Mark, I'm going to cheat and give you a second player I'm excited for. I'm excited for Cameron Curl to show that, hey, everyone's screwed up by not offering me more money, not just the Rams, but just the league in general, because he's been somebody everyone's been like, Oh, dude, we got this guy dirt cheap. And could you say Tre'Davious White? Of course, but he's been injured a bunch. We got to see it. Darius Williams, I expect to play good. He's been a good corner in the NFL since he first started back in end of 2019. He's been an excellent corner. I'm excited to see him. But Cameron Curl, because no one's talking about him, I am excited.
Yeah.
The reports have been fantastic. Our team, joint practices, I think he'll be a big difference with him and John Johnson and Quentin Lake, all the safety spots.
Yeah, we kind of forget about Trey White and Cameron Curl. We talk about all these rookies, the offensive line issues, and those two guys are just lurking back there. If they play, especially Trey White, if he plays like the Trey White like we've seen in the past, man, what a difference maker.
Yeah, dude. And real quick to that point, I mean, shout out to our defense last year for playing much better, and shout out to Kello for playing a lot of good football for us. But he was no match for Amon-Ra St. Brown. He did not have the speed and agility to match up with him, consistently. There were some times he got beat. I mean, Amon-Ra is one of the best receivers. Shout out to him. But I think we're well more equipped to handle them now. Tre'Davious White, Darius Williams, size, agility, and speed. I think they match up better with an Amon-Ra and a Jameson Williams better than our last year's iteration of corners and safeties. I really believe that. So we'll see what happens, but I think we're better equipped to handle a speedy, quick, tough, agile receiver like an Amon-Ra, and then the speedster like Williams with our new duo at a corner, Darius and
Sun God better have his head on a swivel, man, because you got Curl back there. You got some thumpers in that secondary now.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump around a bunch of players, but I'm just
that's
excited,
fine.
man. Football's back, baby. Shoot.
It's good stuff. So I have to go negative here for a second, and I think I have a feeling we all have the same answer to this. So I'll just throw this out here. We've already talked about it. What are we worried about the most? And we're not going to worry about our kicker because we're going to be efficient in the red zone. So that's irrelevant. And that really leaves, making sure that Jamar Gibbs and their backup running back aren't chewing up 4, 5, 6 yards of carry, right?
Yeah.
We got to stop the run, especially on early downs.
The middle of that Ram defense. I was
just going to say that. Yep. That's the number one thing I'm worried about. And I know I had the Rams internet sphere in a head spin when I was like, hey, Troyer's going to be the green dot Mike linebacker. And then, I started many arguments in our fan base. And I'm sorry for anybody if you get anything that got nasty between you and somebody else. But he's going to be out there, guys, unless we hear something new. I mean, he's been the green dot middle linebacker for our defense. Every time Ernest Jones was not practicing this last offseason, since Jones has been gone, he's been the green dot guy. Chris Shula said he wanted a inside linebacker to be it. It's going to be him week 1 coming up on Sunday Night Football, everybody. So it's going to be him and Roseboom. How are you going to hold up now? Because they're going to test it, and I would test it too until you say, hey, okay, we can't run on those two guys. We can't run on Troy Reader and the inside, Bobby Brown and so forth, and the D tackles. So we'll see what happens. Right, Mark? Right, Paul? I mean, shoot.
Yeah, how are you feeling about it, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this game comes down to the most physical team wins. It's bottom line. The other team that, if you want to control the TOP, you have to exploit the other team's run defense. It's that simple. So whichever team's able to do that consistently over 4 quarters is going to win this game. I mean, I agree with you, though. We say it tongue in cheek. Special teams is going to be huge in this game. It really is, because when these are the type of games where special teams really can be, sort of that swing factor. So, I'm hoping Cardi's up to the challenge. They did a great. I don't know if you guys had a great Ram Nation. If you haven't had a chance to see, you have to check it out. It's a really nice segment on our punter and his new style of punting. He's kicking these knuckleballs, right? And I thought that was, and I didn't notice it in the Texans game. I thought it was more of the Texans just trying out some new punt returners, and maybe they weren't familiar. But under close scrutiny, this guy did a great job, and he broke it down. Is that it was really this style of kicking that Evans is playing around with, almost like these knuckleball kicks that are really, really hard to sort of like center as they're coming down out of the sky. So I think it's really, really interesting. We'll see how that plays itself out and how far along the Rams special teams have come. One thing I will say with Kyron Williams and now Blake Corum being listed as kick returners, what I'm afraid of is I hope we don't go into that safe mode of putting these guys out there because they have great hands and we're just going to fair catch it and take these. I hope it doesn't come to that.
Well, I think Tutu's going to be the kick returner, and then obviously Kyron is the punt returner.
Yeah.
So I expect kicks to be taken, and I fully expect Sean McVay to just boot or say, hey, let's just boot the kickoff out of bounds back of the end zone and just start at 30. Because, it's, you know, and I fully expect that because, again, worst unit, you know, bottom 5 unit in the last 20-something years last year. Sean McVay's not going to take a chance until he feels confident about that coverage unit doing good on kickoffs. You know, I know there's a lot of people saying, hey, they should move to the 35. I think if that happens, then Sean McVay will probably have to really believe in the unit. But because it's only 5 more yards from last year, 25 last year, 30 yards this year, I think Coach McVay is going to say, F it, boot it out of the end zone, just like he did a bunch this preseason. I don't think that's going to change.
And all preseason, Cardi has really struggled with getting it into the drop zone, right, within the 5. He's really, by his own admission, has admitted that he's really struggled with that. So I agree. I think just kick it out of the end zone and let our defense take over. 30 is not a bad place to be, Chuck, let me tell you.
So I'll ask this question to Paul, and Ian, you can take a shot at it first. And maybe I'm just being silly, but we're not going to see Omar Speights on defense, not even on passing downs in this opener. No, too early for Omar Speights.
It's not impossible.
I think he'll make it. I think they'll call his number a ton on special teams. This kid is just, he's, like I said, he's just a spark plug, man. The kid only knows one direction, straight ahead.
Yeah, so, Ian, in your arguments, was that the pushback, get Omar Speights out there?
Well, I mean, there wasn't really arguments to me. I just see fan bases just debating each other. There were some people who are like, you're crazy. But a lot of it is like, why isn't Omar getting the nod? Or why isn't maybe a safety or Quinn Lake getting the green dot and all that? I get all that. And we talked about it last week, you and I, Mark, together on Roundtable, that I do believe Omar Speights will get the starting gig some point this season. I do believe that. Now, if Troy Reader and Roseman are playing really good football, then so be it. Let's rock and let's roll with those two guys. But just based on history, based on how Rams have no fear of moving on from good playing linebackers, trade them away midseason, cut them, all that. I do think Omar will get his chance. But I will say this. In that final preseason game when General Manager Les Snead was talking to our announcement crew calling the game, he did say, you know, when he did reveal Omar was going to make the roster, that he did say, like, hey, we're going to need him for Sunday Night Football on special teams and on defense. So there is a possibility we do see him. Would I bet on it? No, but based on what the GM's got to say, I mean, there's a possibility. I don't know how high that will be, but we'll see. Who knows?
You're a big Omar Speights fan, right, Paul? It's just a question of it's kind of risky putting a rookie out there, right?
I mean, real quick, everybody, real quick. We got to give you a round of applause because you were calling that as soon as we signed him, man. You're like, Omar's going to be a dude for us. Well, we barely signed him as an undrafted free agent. I was like, hey, LSU, we'll see what happens. They have good players, and then here we are, man. So, round of applause to you. Another Puka Power pick that's coming true.
Thank you. You get lucky every now and then. You get lucky every now and then. One thing I will say is that, you know, and Power Eye brought up a good point, is that I don't think enough people are talking about how well Roseboom played. Boom played well last year. And they're thinking like this guy's just like a throwaway. Absolutely not. Boom played well, particularly in pass coverage. So it's going to be intriguing. What Omar Speights brings to the table is his speed, right? But Omar Speights' one weakness is in space. He has been exposed. He struggled in college in space, right? In the preseason when he was isolated in space. So I think that's it. So if they pick his spots for him and put him in those situations, I think he can do a lot of damage. I think it might be a little premature. I mean, the kid is young, but I think right now Troy Reader is a steadying influence. It may not be the most popular choice. We all know that. It's not a popular choice. I know that in Ram Nation, I feel you because you know EJ, that was my guy, right? EJ was my guy, but you know these are the cards we've been dealt, right? But at this point, Troy Reader is a steadying influence. What we do have in his corner is this. He's done it before. He knows this defense. He can make the calls. He can get people in the right sort of alignment, and that says a lot, particularly for a brand new defensive coordinator. He wants that. This is his luxury, right? This is his security blanket, at least for the first half of the season, right? And then we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, I think the assumption was a lot of us just assumed, me including myself, that the trade of Ernest Jones was a voice, showing confidence in Omar Speights' potential. Maybe it's going to take a few games, though. And I think we're just, we all know what Troy Reader brings to the table. We all know what Christian Roseboom brings to the table. And we all just want a little bit more, right? We just want a little bit more. And we're hoping that Omar Speights is the guy. And he may not be, but, we're all just excited to see him out there eventually, see what he can do.
And one last thing, and I know out there in the Twitterverse, they may not want to hear it, but in the NFL, stopping the run that is a very, very monumental task. It's not so easy to play the thumper in the middle, right? It's, we're not talking about, all 3 downs. I'm talking about run downs when you need to get a stop, right? Like, watch the film on Ernest Jones, right? He set the franchise records for tackles for a reason, right? Yeah. It's not so easy to do that. The way people are saying it, you have to understand run defense in the NFL is why there are some guys still playing and why some guys retired, right? Because run defense in the NFL separates the all-pros from everybody else.
Sure.
I got another question for you. One more question I'll throw out there, and then we'll get into our predictions. How many offensive snaps does Blake Corum get? You want to take a shot at it, Ian?
Geez, that's a good question. So what are we saying the average is, or not the average? What do we think the grand total?
What's the over/under? What's
the total? My bad. I phrased that improperly. What do you think the grand total for offensive snaps is going to be in this game? What do you think? And then I'll go off that. That's really what is the average? Maybe 60?
Oh man, 50? Yeah, somewhere in the low 60s, I think. Yeah,
let's say 60. We'll just say 60 for a round number. I think Blake Corum will get. I'm going to say 25.
Oh, least. Wow.
At least. If it's 60, it ends up being 60 because based on the Kyron punt return,
a little less than half.
Yeah, I think he'll rotate in quite a bit. I really do. And that's fine with me. Keep Kyron fresh, keep Blake, fresh as well with the alternating, and let's ride them into a Super Bowl run. So I think that'll be the case, just based on how he didn't play it down in the preseason. Everyone said great things about him. I think he'll get some serious playing time. And so I'll say if we're going 60 snaps, I think he'll get 25 of them, which is fine.
Yeah,
with me.
I tell you, that dude looked ripped on the sideline, didn't he? Jeez.
He's jacked.
Hey, real quick, gentlemen, we're just going to have to pay attention. They're both tattooed. They both have the same body type. They're both pretty ripped. They both have numbers in the 20s, 22 and 23. Both have a similar face mask and helmet assembly. It's we're probably like, was that Kyron? Was that Blake? And then you'll be like, oh, when they get up and we see the 2-3 or the 2-2, then we'll know. But I think that's a good thing, though. I think that's a good thing that there's going to be that mystery of like who's in, who's out. And that's what Sean McVay wanted them, right? They wanted the seamless transition. The offense does not have to change with either of them in there. And 25 out of 60. That's my guess. What about you, Paul?
I think it's going to be a combination of. I think they're going to get more passes thrown their way. I think these quick sort of leak out where the backs leak out, maybe pick up a blitz and then leak out late. Same thing with the tight end leaking out, but I think it's going to be more backs leaking out. Mm-hmm. I think we're take those underneath passes. I think these two, their short area quickness between the two of them is just absolutely amazing. I really do. When you watch them, their ability to cut, I think we're going to see that be really, really effective against this Detroit defense. Detroit's going to be aggressive, and if the Rams are patient, that's going to be their all game. And these two, Aaron Kyron and Blake the Great, are going to just chew up yardage. I agree. I think that ratio is going to be a lot higher than people anticipate.
Oh yeah.
But I think between the two of them, I'm anticipating them. Anywhere between 8 and 9 receptions. I think they're going to get the ball thrown their way a ton.
It's cool with me.
So you're going with a similar answer to Ian as far as, a little less than half for Blake Corum, snap-wise?
My point being, I don't think it's just going to be traditional carries. I think they're going to get the ball thrown their way a lot. I think that's going to be a theme this entire season. That's going to be there. And if the Rams ever decide, if McVay ever awakens from his slumber and realizes and get that screen game going,
oh man.
Oh my goodness, the Rams screen game has the potential to be absolutely devastating. Absolutely devastating, particularly with Jonah Jackson at center. That dude's going to be 20 yards downfield.
Yeah.
So
my answer is going to be a lot less than that, but I'm happy with your answer, so we'll roll with that. Okay, I don't think we can think of Blake Corum as a traditional backup, right? He's going to roll in and get a whole series, I think, early in the game too. So let's get.
I think they want Kyron to make it to the end of the season, and the way to do that is just from the very, very beginning, from week one, establish that you have a two-headed monster. And I think Kyron's on board.
Good.
Man, it's going to be fun. Okay, let's wrap things up with some predictions. Take it away, Ian. What do you think we're going to see? And you can even share a final score with us as long as it's the Rams.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, I'll always be real on here, my Ramily. So if I think things are not going well, I'll tell you about it. But in terms of this game, it's going to be some good touchdowns scored. Both these offenses have fantastic players at running back, receiver, tight end, O-line, quarterback plays good. So I expect some touchdowns to go down, and it's not going to be some defensive slobber knocker, 1980 style. I don't believe that's going to be the case. But what I do believe is that Rams will win. The revenge is coming for that dumb playoff loss that we should have won. I do believe Rob Havenstein will be back. I believe Noteboom will be solid at a minimum. And I do believe Matthew Stafford will have his way with the Lions secondary, and we will get a good enough push on their front seven to run the ball. So I predict everyone out there 27-24. Rams beat the Lions, if my stuff isn't so. 27-24, Rams circle Lions with the sad face.
You're pretty close to what I'm going to share, but man, I should kick myself here. We got through almost this whole thing without mentioning Sam Laporta, and you mentioned the tight end, and that's a place we could be vulnerable with Reeder and Roseboom.
Yeah,
covering the tight end there. He's a touchdown maker.
I think we'll be in a lot of dime package anyway, so I think there'll be a Quentin Lake on him, there'll be a Russ East on him, or someone of that sort. It's Cameron Kitchens. Who knows what we'll see anyway. But
hey, maybe Laporta will have a sophomore jinx. We can only hope. It starts Sunday night.
Yeah, 27-24, everybody.
I'll go next, and I'll let Paul wrap things up. Mine was very similar, 27-23. No logic, just how many points I think these two teams are capable of. The defenses, I think, will step up, keep it from being a super high scoring affair. But there's going to be some touchdowns, and I think the defenses are going to still play well. But there's going to be touchdowns. Rams 27. Lions 23. And I am a homer. I have never picked against the Rams, so take that with a grain of salt. I just can't do it, even in the Jeff Fisher days. Just can't do it. Sorry.
I feel it.
What do you got, Paul?
I got the Rams 24-20. I think it's going to. I think the noise and a bunch of you got the second youngest unit out there. For the Rams, I think the combination of that, I think will be a little bit close, but the Rams will score enough to win this one. It won't be as clean as we would like, but it'll be good enough to win. 24-20, I think it'll be physical. I think there's going to be a little payback as well. Hopefully the Rams come out with the proper mindset, and I think they'll carry it to victory.
Yeah, that's the one thing we can't understate is Matthew Stafford he wants us bad. He wants us bad.
The gunslinger wants it.
Yeah, I think he left Detroit with a really bad taste in his mouth. I don't mean when he left Detroit to come play for the Rams. When he left Detroit after that playoff game, walking out of that stadium, he was pretty peed off.
Good.
And they owe him. The Rams owe him one after in that playoff game, the Rams, for everything that Optimus 9 has done for this franchise, this team owes him one. I think they realize that too.
Yeah, let's get him a victory in his former team stadium. We already beat them here in LA back in the Super Bowl season. That's cool, but got to get one at Stafford Field, like our media team put in that graphic. Savages.
Yeah, and it's a great way to open up the season for the NFL, or at least Sunday night. Rams Lions. It's a really attractive. And 10 years ago, this would have barely made Thursday night, right?
Oh,
and here we have a marquee game on Thursday night, Rams Lions in Detroit. Pretty crazy.
Heck yeah.
Well, hey, it's been fun, guys. Good show. And just for everyone's awareness, and by the way, please like and subscribe to this channel. It really helps us. We'll be coming back. I'll be coming back later in the week. I'll share my game preview, and we'll do a quick reaction video after the game. I don't know if Paul or Ian are going to be able to join me. And then we'll come back every Tuesday night. Our plan is we'll recap the previous game, preview the next one, and that'll be our heartbeat moving forward this season. We'll be sharing a lot of good stuff. So where are you watching the game, Ian?
I'll be with family. I don't know if I'm going. I forgot where I'm going exactly, but there's a lot of cool shebangs. A lot of booster clubs are in the LA area hosting watch parties. I'll be somewhere, and I'll be watching on a big screen with it being very, very loud, which is what I need for football. I need a big screen and very loud audio. I need to feel like I'm there. Dang it.
Yeah, I feel it. How about you, Paul? What are you doing Sunday night?
Got the Ramley ready to go. Yeah, internal Ramley as well as the external Ramley. But
is your daughter a Rams fan by now?
She has no choice whether she likes her, but she is. Actually, she is. She enjoys it. She's a big Steven Jackson fan since she was a little kid.
Oh, nice.
That was her favorite player. One quick shout out, member of the Ramley.
Oh, right.
Young kid from Jersey, went to Powerhouse St. Peter's Prep. Joe Ossiane got recruited by Stanford, signed with Stanford. He's a 3-star out of Jersey. He plays defensive tackle. He's listed at right now at 6'3", 280. Woo! So keep working, big dog. Work hard, study even harder out there at Palo Alto, and hopefully in a couple of years we'll see you wearing the horns. Right, full force, baby.
Yeah. Hey, very few people say no to Stanford or Cal. I mean, yeah. I know a lot of 5-star football players say no to Cal and Stanford, but
sure, yeah.
They had a great recruiting class this year. Fantastic recruiting class. If I'm not mistaken, last time I checked it, I think they were within the top 25 in the country this year. They were really, really aggressive. Yeah. So they're going to be an interesting team to watch.
Okay, guys, thanks a lot. It's been great, and we'll catch you next Tuesday night, and we'll have some really fun stuff to talk about.
All right, double barrel ram horns, Ramley. Let's go. Let's start off the season right.
Go Rams, get a dub, damn it.
Okay, guys, out here.